Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joshua Holmes, and have the blessing of representing CARP today and representing the students on this day, Revival Starts With Me Rally Day. And I'm incredibly humbled to be in front of all of you guys. For those who don't know, I'm 21 years old. I am a student on campus at Cypress College. Woo! Yeah. As well as at Cal State Long Beach. I'm a business marketing major, and for me, I've been a part of CARP for the last only year and a couple months. A year and a couple months. For those who don't know, CARP is a student organization, and I like to describe it like this, is we invest into you, and you invest into you for the sake of others. That's CARP. And so today, the number one response I got when I walked up to people is, "What are you wearing?" Apparently a nice, just a regular crew neck doesn't go well with sweatpants. But sometimes you gotta ignore how you look so that you can represent what you need to represent. So today I'm representing Revival Starts With Me. And today I wanna share with you guys what that means to me, what that means to you, and what this means to the world. So I want to take a moment. I want everybody to close your eyes or just get into a peaceful space. And I want to take you guys to what you would consider the ideal. The ideal. Imagine the ideal. Sometimes you got to sit down, you got to meditate about that. You got to think, okay, what is the ideal? And for me, many things come up. For me, it's a kiwi strawberry Snapple on a summer day. It's a nice ideal. Or sometimes for me, it's being in a sweaty basement with all my brothers playing Super Smash Bros. On the Wii. Man, take me there. But sometimes, for many people, when you think of ideal, you think of your family sitting down at the dinner table, having just simple conversation, enjoying one another. And for many people, it's just walking by someone on the street and flashing a smile to them, and then they're flashing the smile back, and you just feel so good. Sometimes it's just that high five on a bad day. That's the ideal. So if you can open your eyes, everyone has a different ideal, but I think generally speaking, we all feel the same way. We feel incredibly happy. But the world is not that way. And if you just to step out of this room right now, and I want to take you guys to North and South Korea, where you have only less than 80 years ago, there was a country where the two sides called each other brothers, where they considered each other family, and where although they were in a difficult space, at least they had each other. And now you have a place where you have millions of people there, 25 million people exactly. And 1/3 of the children that grow up in North Korea are malnutritioned. And they're stunted in their growth. And not just that, you have 300,000 refugees in China, but you think that getting out of North Korea was an escape, but rather 75% of them end up locked in human trafficking. We're looking at a place that is experiencing something we have never experienced in our lives. We've only tasted in the bits and pieces of sorrow that we've experienced in our lives. But not even that, I take you guys back home into America, and we look on February 14th, you had the shooting in Parkland, Florida, where 17 students died because someone decided to. And I don't care what your political belief is, that's pain. And the sad thing is, when I scroll through my Facebook messages, I come across a comment, a post of someone who has a certain kind of belief and a certain stance on it. And what I see in the comments is not people supporting one another. I saw people that I respected fighting against one another, just completely slandering each other. And those are the people that I respect. But our reality is a lot of division. We bring it even closer to home, and we bring it into our families, and we see that our families are divided. We see a 50% divorce rate. We see students and children that grow up without fathers or mothers. But then you don't even need to leave this building to see one of those divisions. And that's the division within yourself. There's a piece of you that's so, so beautiful, so, so beautiful. But it's masked by all this, whether it be everything from laziness to the environment that you're in or the pain that you experience, all these things that stop you from really blossoming into the person that you are, especially as students. And as a student myself, I know it, I feel that. There's a division within ourselves. So when we come here today, the question is why? And then the immediate question is, why do we have to stay that way? So today I come to you guys with a solution because I understand something, and I know many of you guys, it just makes sense, is that if I am divided, I create divided relationships, and divided relationships create divided families, and divided families create divided nations, and divided nations create the world that we live in right now. So what's the solution? It's the individual. We may feel so small, but every moment that we decide to cut ourselves from that evil within us or that nature within us that does not come from us, we are slowly changing the world. So revival starts with me. The mission statement is we champion the revival and discovery of God's hope for this divided world. You. Can everybody say me? Ooh. Everybody say me? But we don't believe it. Do you believe it? Yeah, just a few people. We don't believe it, and why don't you believe it? Why don't the people that believe it do something about it? I think it's because for years we have defined ourselves by the materialistic things that we've had. We defined ourselves by a certain socioeconomic background. We define ourselves by all these things, all these opinions. And so naturally the value that we feel is that of an opinion. And when I think about that, and I think about the opinions that I have, oh man, no wonder we feel so lonely. No wonder we feel so valueless. So I think when we talk about revival, what we're really reviving is a kind of heart. This heart that recognizes that it is loved by an unchanging source. And from that love, we realize we are then eternally valuable. We have an unchanging value. And we have something to give to the world that is so, so precious. That's the revival. So I want to bring you guys into my own story and who I am. Again, my name is Joshua, and I actually come from a pretty blessed family. My parents are here today. Give them a round of applause. The fact that they're here today shows that they support what I'm doing somehow, for some reason. My story, although it's interesting, the ones that are blessed the most in their life are the ones that don't seem to understand love the most. Doesn't seem to understand. So my course, and everyone has their own course to discovering that they are loved from an unchanging source, that they are valued. So my course actually began when purposeless Joshua came out of high school not knowing what the heck he was doing. And I joined an organization that was actually founded by the same founders of CARP. And the organization's design is to support high school students with finding their direction and purpose in life and giving them a chance to find their own personal connection with God. And how we do that is we go out on these mission trips, but we do not ask people to fund our mission trips. We do it ourselves. We'd fund by going out and going to businesses and asking for donations, and that's part of the self-sacrifice behind it. And so one time they sent me to Alaska in the dead of winter. Alaska, wow, that's beautiful. But they sent me to Alaska in the dead of winter. It was negative 25 degrees, and I'm a California boy. There is some juxtaposition there. There's something inherently wrong with that. And they sent me there, and the minute that I landed on the airplane, we landed, I'm like, what am I doing? This is a mistake. I'll buy a plane ticket right back home right now. I don't need to be here. And I was in Alaska, and from 9 to 1 a.m., 9 a.m. to 1 a.m., I would fundraise. And every single day, we'd fundraise, and we'd go business to business. And sometimes, I had these shoes too small, and they were super cramped, and my feet would hurt too much that I would have to take off my shoes and run in the snow with my socks, running to business, just racing. Just like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And let me tell you, my athleticism or whatever quality I had pushed me through that, and I relied on that. And it was incredibly painful. But then one day I found myself in the basement of the house that I was sleeping in. And I was crying. I was crying like I'd never cried before. And I was hitting the ground, and I was asking, and I was accusing everybody. I was like, God, why am I here? What the hell do you have me here for? This is so painful, and nothing I am doing is working, because I could not feel, I felt so empty. And in that moment, I felt this calling. In those tears for myself, they were selfish tears. But in that moment, I felt this calling to take out my wallet, and inside my wallet, I have 3 pictures. One is a picture of my sister on her wedding day. My sister is amazing. And the second picture was a picture of my parents, who always put food on the table and made life a little bit easier, taught me what is right from wrong. But this time, the picture that I took out was a picture of the founders of CARP, Reverend Samyang Moon and Hak Jahan Moon. And the reason I have their picture is because a lot of my growth in my life has been because of them. And I have only deep respect and love for what they have done. But when I was sitting there and looking at that picture, and I was crying, and then their story came back to me. And their story is not something that you look at and you envy. It was one of incredible suffering. So they were both born in North Korea, in war-torn North Korea, where they were ruled by the Japanese, and they were around the nastiest of people and experienced the worst of pain. But at the age of 16, Reverend Moon had this understanding that, okay, my world is in pain, but all I can do is give the love of God and the hope back to the people that need it the most. Even if it seems like it's impossible right now, I have to do that. I have to share that. And so he preached. He preached from a mud hut. He preached from wherever he could preach. And when he preached, what they responded with was not appreciation, but they threw him into a prison camp multiple times. And they tortured him near to death because he was in communist North Korea. It's not a story you envy. And they continue, despite that, to keep moving forward. They keep moving forward, and now we've created things like CARP, where students can come together and really discover their God-given gift. They didn't give up. So when I was sitting there and I was crying, what I realized, in that moment, everything switched, and what I felt was not this victimization of myself, but realization that can only be so grateful. Because in that moment, for the first time, when I was looking at just these people that are in the position of like a parent to me, I felt unconditional love from God. And it's amazing how God uses people in our lives to teach us that and to show us His love. And they used the founders of CARP for that. He used. What I came to understand is that despite how difficult my life has been or this situation is, I don't have to give up. I will not give up. Because I'm loved and I have something so precious that I need to give the world. And so with that, what couples with that, the beautiful thing about that is everybody runs their own Alaska. Everybody has that moment in their life where even right now, where you're trying to run so freaking hard, but you don't feel a single thing. They tell you this is the way to go, but you don't feel anything. You feel valueless. Everyone has this experience. But when we come to this revival, when we come to an understanding that we are loved from an unchanging source, God, then we realize that we have purpose on this earth. That we are not defined by all these things that society defines us by. But we can learn to love one another as a brother or a sister, and we can feel this true value within us that is a beautiful gift that we give to others. And so I look towards the professors and the pastors now. It's because you guys are that picture. You guys are the ones we look towards. The ones we look at and we see, we stand on your shoulders and we see the ideal. We don't see what we see in this world. And I'm so grateful that you guys are here. And for all the students, I know we've become very individualistic. We feel like we don't need people. But then why do you feel so lonely? Sometimes you just need a community of people, of mentors, of pastors, of professors, and of students who are ready to run with you. And I'm so blessed because I have people to run with. So when you think that we champion the revival and discovery of God's hope for this divided world, shout out that it is you. Because it is you. And I'm humbled today because I'm not alone in this. I have CARP, people that I can call family, that I'm running with. And I refuse to believe that when I raise my children, that I'm going to raise them in the place that I see right now. I refuse. So that's why revival starts with me. Thank you. So what I would like, and now you can see my sweaty face, if you didn't already. What I would like to do now is if you could turn towards the neighbor next to you, and you can take a moment to consider this, and talk to each other, just to answer this question is who or what community do you feel you can turn to in your time of difficulty? Why? And if you don't have that, why not? Yeah. We can share. We'll do just like a thought sharing together. Thank you.